What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with my MMA News, and I'm dressed appropriately for today's interview because I'm dressed perfectly in the Northwestern colors, and Northwestern's actually where we head for today's interview, as today's guest is Ryan Deakin, who just recently claimed a national championship at 157 pounds for Northwestern. Ryan, thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate the time as always.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having me.
So you just had a great run to a national championship, and before we get into any of that stuff there, I do want to kind of paint the scene for just how special this victory was for you. And to paint that scene, we'll go back to last year actually, because last year you had a great year, undefeated regular season. You enter as the top seed in the NCAA tournament. But you ended up placing third. Obviously, placing third in nationals is a great accomplishment in itself. But I'm sure, obviously, not being the ultimate goal kind of left a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. Just kind of talk about that tournament and placing third, and kind of how you felt about that tournament and just that season in general.
Yeah, I think it was disappointing. It was it was just such a weird year with COVID and everything. The year before tournament got canceled, and then um, just kind of had some medical issues where I was sitting out for the most of the season. And with all of that, I got to wrestle two duels and then was right into Big Ten and nationals. So it was such a short and like weird year. And with everything going on, everything was pretty locked down with, you're not seeing anybody outside of your team. You got to kind of stick with your same training partners. We're testing 6 days a week. So it was just a really weird year. Kind of felt like it was just kind of, it was so different. There's not a lot of fans at nationals. It was yeah, I don't know, just way different than a normal college season. So I, it, I was excited that I had another year to come back. Didn't exactly do what I wanted to do. I lost in the semis, and then had to come back and get third. So it was. I'm glad that that wasn't the end of my college career.
And one last thing with that tournament before we get into this year and all the accomplishments this year, I just wanted to ask you about like how you were able to flip that switch mentally because it's not an easy thing to do, right? Obviously, you make the semis like you did last year, you automatically get an All-American spot, but the ultimate goal was to get the national championship. When you end up in that situation there where you end up losing the semis and you have to wrestle back, obviously, your goal of becoming a national champion is now crushed at that moment, but you still have to, wrestle. There's still, matches to be had there. There's still a higher place to be had. Just talk about how you're able to flip that switch mentally and get ready to go for what was left of that tournament.
Yeah, I think it's a tough night losing in the semis. You take your couple minutes to kind of collect your thoughts, and then it's like you just got to move on. You got to go back to the hotel. You got to lose some weight, and then you wake up the next morning. Um, you're sore, you don't feel good, and you're like, you know what, I got to finish this the right way. So I think it's tough, when you get a heartbreaker like that, but you go get the next best thing. And I think that having good coaches and good teammates around you kind of helps put that in perspective. And just, you got to wake up the next day and it's a new day, fight for those next matches.
And as you mentioned before, you were able to get another year out of it, thankfully. Just talk about, though, this off season, what that was like for you as you kind of got ready to go out and prepare for one last season at Northwestern and finally get this national title.
Yeah, I think, it was a great summer wrestling freestyle, kind of always training through that summer, and we take a little bit of time off in August. So I think it was kind of sticking to the plan, and just realizing that consistency stacks over time, and just knowing like I got one more shot at this, and I think that last year's nationals was a lot of motivation. So um, just trusting my coaches, trusting my teammates, continuing to stay the course and continuing to try to evolve and add new tools to my wrestling. And I think, like you said, mentally gearing up for tournaments and stuff is important too. So I think by preparing correctly, you get that extra confidence that helps you go out there on the mat and feel feel like you did everything you could and that you're prepared and you're ready to wrestle.
So wrestling's obviously very cutthroat. You had a fantastic regular season again this year, went undefeated in it. Were you surprised though, like that they gave you a number two seed after all you accomplished? Right, you go from being a what you were the top seed, I believe, right in the tournament, which got canceled because of COVID. Then last year, top seed again, undefeated regular season, end up placing third. Come back this year, another undefeated regular season. They give you a two seed. Were you shocked at all with that by any chance?
No, I think honestly, like it's just whoever comes out in front of you, you're gonna wrestle next, you know. So I don't really get caught up in like the seeding or guys you could face, you couldn't. Everything like every year nationals, there's weird stuff that happens. There's weird upsets, weird like rounds, and so I think it's just focusing, one match at a time and going forward. So I don't really think about that stuff. It was just kind of all right, who do I have next, and getting prepared for that match.
All right, so now we'll get into the NCAA tournament here, and we'll start with the semifinals. We kind of skipped through a little bit here. So, obviously, the semis was the matchup that you lost in the year before. What's kind of going through your mind as you get ready for that matchup there, given everything that you went through in the lead up to this point and being back in that same situation there in the semis?
Yeah, I don't think I wasn't thinking about that stuff at all. I think I was just getting geared up for that match and wrestling. Um, Made a little bit of a mistake in the beginning, so it was just staying calm and knowing like, hey, I can give up a takedown here in the beginning, then come back and just keep wrestling. So I think this year was able to stay calm throughout the matches, and then also just kind of stay on my offense and not let the outside stuff, not let the crowd, not let everything kind of get you. So I think that comes with being in those situations. So I think it helped that I've wrestled in that kind of environment before. But I think that mentally you're just gearing up like it's any other match, and you're going out there ready to wrestle.
And then finally, the national championship match, right? You looked fantastic in it, and anyone that watched can just tell that you were really dialed in and really locked in at what was at the task at hand there. And just talk about that performance a little bit because you looked fantastic in that match up there, and just what it felt like to go out there and get the win there.
Yeah, I think I just was real grateful for the last 6 years of college. It's been a lot of fun, and so it was like this is my last match ever. Didn't obviously you always feel like I'm always a little nervous before matches, but it was more just excited to go out there and just kind of leave it all on the mat. It was something that was really cool. It's like my coach have poured a lot into me, my teammates poured a lot into me, and this is like the final go around. So I was just going out there, and I think being grateful to be in that position and be at Northwestern and in this sport. So I think I was out there with, just kind of carefree, able to just kind of wrestle and have fun with it.
And following that, right, we saw the emotions on you there. Nothing like live TV, right, to pick up your emotions there in a live time like that. Just, I know obviously you were talking about Northwestern before and just how thankful you were for this opportunity, but just, talk a little bit about that, about the emotions and what it's kind of like for you now. Obviously, right when that happened, that was a very raw moment. It just happened there on live time. Now, obviously, you have some time to think about it. Just your thoughts on everything that transpired and what it was like.
Yeah, no, I think it was really surreal, and it was such a special moment, to have my family there. And then like I said, I've had coaches that have poured so much into me, and it just felt like something I had to get done. I was like, these guys have put so much into me. My teammates have put so much into me. My parents have put so much into me. So it's like, why wouldn't I go out there and do the best I can? And so I think I'm just really, grateful for all of them. And it takes so many people, I think, to prepare for stuff like that. And I think that, my heart was like full going into that match, and that helped me compete so freely. So I'm just, really blessed with those people and those relationships. And I think that, more than anything, when I look back on this, it's like I'm going to look back at those relationships and the fun times, traveling on trips and stuff like that more so than, winning a national title. So it was cool. It really was.
Yeah, man, great career. Something you always remember. A lot of great people at that Northwestern program. It was great seeing you do what you did there to end things there with Northwestern. And now just to play us out here, I do have a couple things I wanted to ask you about with the NCAA tournament as a whole, and that's we'll start with Gable Stevenson. Obviously, Gable, great career there at Minnesota. Accomplished so much in wrestling. Now we know he's headed to the WWE, which I'm a fan of. So I can't wait to see what he does in the WWE. But what I just wanted to ask you about, obviously, with him, he's a fellow Big Ten guy. I'm sure you know him pretty well. He's accomplished so much in the sport of wrestling. I think they just announced earlier this week that he's a now two-time Hodge winner there. So just what he did for the sport of wrestling and his great career there at Minnesota.
Yeah, no, Gable's an awesome dude. We were roommates for a couple overseas trips. We're on a junior world team together, and then we went to Belarus a couple years ago. So got to know him a little bit, and he's obviously an awesome wrestler. Wish he was still wrestling. Would love to keep seeing him wrestling, but I'm real excited for him and happy for him. He had a phenomenal career, and I'm sure he'll do awesome things in the WWE and beyond that. So really, really great guy, and obviously great athlete. So yeah, I wish him the best. He's awesome, and I was really happy for him, and it was exciting to see him, kind of do everything he did, especially the Olympics last year. It was really cool to see him kind of win it right at the end, and that was a really special moment. And then, obviously he's a phenomenal wrestler and just had a legendary college career. So yeah, really, really happy for him.
Yeah, he did. He had a fantastic career. And the other thing that I have to ask you about too about this tournament, another big takeaway, Penn State. Man, they do it again. They're just so tough in that NCAA tournament. Coach Sanderson has those guys ready to go all the time there. What they had five guys make the finals, all five end up winning it there. It's what another crazy year, and Penn State, doing it yet again there. Just your thoughts on Penn State. I know you spent a lot of time around that program from competing against them at Northwestern. Now, we know Penn State couldn't beat the guy at 157 pounds, but still, it's pretty impressive what they did there.
Yeah, no, I think they have a phenomenal system, phenomenal program. I think Kale's obviously got it figured out, and those guys work really hard, and they consistently win. So it's really cool to see that. They've done an awesome job, and so tip your hat to them. And that's they definitely have fostered a great culture, great environment, and it's worked for a long time.
And now, finally, to end things here, the big question that I'm sure you're probably sick and tired of everybody coming up to you and asking you about it, but I'm going to go ahead and ask anyway. Just what's next? There's a lot of things going on there. You're kind of trying to weigh options out now, kind of decide on some things there, but just talk about this process and some of the things that are on your mind.
Yeah, no, I'm looking into some RTCs, some regional training centers to train out of, trying to make these world and Olympic teams these next few years. So I'm not sure yet, but taking some visits and kind of gathering all the information right now, and hopefully we'll have a plan here soon. But yeah, just kind of diving into that. Just got back from being back in Colorado, and so now I really got to kind of figure out the rest of my life.
So I know it seems like wrestling is probably going to be the long-term thing there. I know you're still obviously, like I said, kicking around the ideas there. But when we actually connected the first time, we did an interview before Justin Gaethje's fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, because he brought you into his camp to help him, train for that fight with Khabib's heavy wrestling there. And I know you spent a lot of time around those MMA guys. Is MMA anything that you'd ever consider doing in the future, or has that been officially ruled out?
I keep telling myself no. I'm trying to protect my brain a little bit, but then in those environments, it's a lot of fun. Those guys have an awesome time. I think it's a lot like wrestling, preparing for tournaments and how they prepare for fights. Going through these training cycles and stuff, and it's really cool. I'm trying to stay wrestling right now, but I would say I'm probably not going to do it, but never say never. So I don't know.
Well, man, if you ever do it, I can tell you what, you'll definitely be great at it because you're a great wrestler, and it's been great watching what you did here at Northwestern. Really appreciate the time. But one last thing I do want to actually ask you about. We know that wrestling's a cutthroat business. MMA can be a very cutthroat business. You've actually been blessed, right, with your degree from Northwestern because Northwestern is one of the top universities in all of the United States. It's a great school. What did you take up in school, and what would you want to do if, let's say, things don't play out? Because you always have that in your back pocket, having a degree from Northwestern. So, what's something you might want to do in the future if you ever had to go that route?
Yeah, so I did econ for my undergrad, and I got a master's of science and management studies. So, kind of want to do something probably in finance. I think athletics and like fitness industry is very, very much interests me. Just because of my sports background. So, if I could combine some kind of finance with some kind of athletic stuff, I think that would be an ideal career in the future. So not sure what that's going to look like yet, but that's kind of my long term plan after I'm done wrestling.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate the time. It's been great watching you do what you did for Northwestern. Great career. One last thing before we roll out, though: social media, management, sponsors. Anybody got to give a shout out to? Floor is yours.
Yeah. So XPA gear, they've got some gear with them. So shout out to them and thank you for all they do. And yeah, no, I just really appreciate everything and thanks for having me on.
All right, Ryan. Thanks so much for all the time here today, man. Really appreciate it. And again, can't say this enough. Congratulations on a great way to end your Northwestern career, capturing that national championship at 157 pounds. So good luck what you do in the future. I'm sure we'll be able to connect again before a big wrestling tournament or that. So yeah, again, congrats. And to everybody that's out there watching today's interview, just want to give you guys a big thank you for watching. If you like today's interview, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go ahead and share this video around. And just as a reminder, keep going to MyMMANews. Great content comes out there 7 days a week. We also have a great social media following, so make sure you guys are going there, giving us a like and a follow. And if you want to find me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm at John Arapoli. We'll see you later, everybody.